We take it live now to Rogers Center, where Blue Jays general manager Ross Atkins is speaking to reporters. Let's listen in.
Glad. Remain very hopeful. And I just was talking to Tony on the way in. I said, "Yo tengo esperanza." Like, I have hope too. You know, that's how I feel.
Ross, coming out of camp, now that you've seen all of the pieces together that you've put together for this team, what have you learned about them through this stage, and what are your expectations now?
Yeah, every spring training's a little bit different, and most spring trainings, as long as you're healthy, you come out of them feeling pretty strong. Especially when you have resources like the Blue Jays do, and you're able to add to your team over the offseason via trade and free agency, and every year you want to come out of spring training feeling like you have a very good chance to contend, and we feel that. This year, we've seen with the additions of Max and Andres and Tony, who I mentioned, those a couple of them having some link to their contract, that has been meaningful as well. But we've been talking about it a long time. The growth of our own players, as just Major League Baseball players and incredible teammates, has also been very positive.
Which area of this roster, like if it all goes right, if it all goes well, which area of this roster do you think can really raise that ceiling for you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing we've struggled to do the last couple of years at a high level is score runs. So I think that is where we, feel like there's opportunity to be better this year. We saw a lot of positive signs from players that we acquired last year and from players internally that, some of them are here today and some of them had good performances last year that raised our depth floor. And then we added to that in free agency and trade.
Ross, back here. After a season last year where this team underachieved, you had to sit in this very room last year and face some pretty tough questions about your future with the team. How do you feel going into this season in terms of how much leash you have left in terms of whether or not the team is successful or not? Do you have to feel that maybe there's some pressure on you to succeed here?
Yeah, I mean, I've felt pressure from day one, and so do our players. Everyone in baseball operations, all of our staff, we feel the pressure to put a winning team on the field, and that has never changed. And I just embrace my job every day and thinking about how I can get better. And that's where my focus is.
Hey, Ross. With Scherzer specifically, you guys gave him a lot of money for 1 year. Were you projecting, or maybe fingers crossed, like 25 starts in that vicinity? And have your projections changed given his most recent issues, because he seems quite downcast?
Yeah, I mean, I can say that Max has already elevated our environment and has pitched exceptionally well, and in every time he's taken the ball in his bullpens in each of his outings. So we're really excited about this year. As far as our projections, nothing has changed. We're, if anything, as optimistic or more optimistic just from how effective he's been and how good his stuff is.
Could I just follow up by
Sure.
What those projections were? Can you give me a general idea? 25?
Yeah, we don't do it in terms of starts. Like when we obviously have scouts, we have our own opinions and views, and we think about what types of contributions we'll get. And then we place a value on it, and it's not just an objective projection driving that.
Ross, just to clarify from before, you're talking about Vladdy and saying that you feel hopeful.
Yeah.
Is that hopeful that, he will remain a Blue Jay in 2026 and beyond, like potentially with a free agent deal, or hopeful that you'll sign him sooner, or something else? What is that hope?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been the same. Like, we've been consistently hopeful that we can reach an agreement, and whether that happens during the season or via free agency, we'll stay open and never close any doors.
Hi, Ross. Sitting here today, what would you define a successful season as once it comes to an end?
Winning, yeah. And, I think oftentimes in sport, people, it's a win at all cost. And, it's win the World Series or bust, win a trophy or bust. And, I think it's that if you focus on each day and winning each day, and if we ultimately win more than other teams, then that will have been a good outcome, and obviously aspire to win the World Series.
Hey, Ross. Jose alluded to the difficulties of being in a clubhouse on a team that was struggling late in the season last year, and John Schneider addressed it as well about it not being the happiest of places. What have you seen in terms of maybe the culture of that clubhouse, to use the expression, and John's evolution as a manager to sort of create a better environment that way?
Yeah, it's some of the things I was talking about before. It's so interesting when we've had some really impressive, over the course of, my 10 years and well prior to that, there's some really impressive baseball players and men that have come through this clubhouse. And I've seen that change a lot. I've seen different dynamics be productive. And I've seen some that, whether it be chemistry, performance, the ultimate construction that creates the right environment for wins and losses. I've seen a lot of different versions of it. And, back to the days with JD and Jose and Tulo and Russ Martin, and then watching the growth of Vladdy and Bo with Marcus Semien and DeMatt Chapman, and now adding Anthony Santander and Andres Jimenez and Max Scherzer. They're all a little bit different. And, this one does feel really productive. It feels like last year felt very productive to start the season, and we had I don't want to just say we had things not go our way. That happened too, but we also, I could have done a better job of constructing that, and we've made some adjustments that feel that we've put this team in a good position. As it relates to John's evolution as a manager, I feel extremely strong about him as a baseball leader, not just for the Blue Jays, but in the industry. His baseball acumen, his open-mindedness, his strength, and his just palpable positivity is a difference maker in this game, and that just continues to get better as he learns. He's never gonna feel like he's made it. He's always gonna be the type that's trying to get better, and I think our players appreciate that about him.
Hey, Russ. With both Vlad and Bo entering potential walk years, what goes into managing against that and trying to find ways to, depending on how the season plays out, ensure that you guys can remain competitive into 26? Like, what does the forward planning, scenario planning at this point look like for you guys as you're embarking on this kind of a season?
Yeah, well, we don't just adjust to that over a week or a month. You're constantly planning for having the right amount of depth and the right roster construction to sustain a winning environment. And fortunately, we've had the resources to add via free agency. And in the event that we don't want as not a desired outcome, but we don't have those players here, there will be other avenues. In addition to that, we've had a very successful year in the player development system with a lot of good stories and additions via trade, the growth of just guys getting better that were here, that were drafted here. Really excited about the group of pitchers that will be becoming healthy to add to a very strong position player group that has a lot of depth and with some ceiling.
The possibility of if they have the types of seasons they're capable of having, you're looking at 8 to 10 wins between the two of them. Just replacing that in a single offseason, how feasible is that when you think about just the type of value that is potentially leaving this roster?
Yeah,
as a potential.
That is not the desired outcome, and we will have to have good stories within our player development system and free agency and be open to trades if we are facing that. And I think in the event that we get to the end of next year and they are not signed here, then they will also be options to return here.
Hey, Russ. You guys added David Bell to the front office over the offseason, and someone who has a great baseball background, great baseball family. We haven't heard from him. I don't think I even saw him down in spring training. So can you just tell us what he's adding and how that relationship is working?
Well, he was there every day at 6 in the morning and leaving at 6 in the afternoon. So I don't know how you missed him. He was on the minor league fields mostly. So he's been incredible. I have a long relationship with David. I have a relationship with his family and connections to, again, a lot of I've had a lot of contact with him over time, and he is as passionate as anyone about about Major League Baseball, not just about the game, and about elevating opportunity to grow and get better for young players. I met him when he was a manager in the Arizona Fall League for the first time, and as someone with a playing career like his and a pedigree with his family, I wasn't expecting the level of humility that he had, and I think he's just continued to benefit from that. And his focus has been initially in just zooming out and seeing, okay, what are we missing from his time in San Francisco, his time in Cincinnati? Are there things opportunities that he sees that's low-hanging fruit as he, in some way, leads Joe Sclafani and others, and that also has allowed us to pull Joe Sheehan more into the research area of things.
I probably missed him because we're not really allowed on the minor league side. But as far as last year, when Mark talked about having voices in the room, maybe more people would be contributing than had been in the past. How did that work for you guys this off season, and what did it lead to as far as what you managed to do with the team?
So you're asking about more voices, or?
Yeah, I think Mark said that the people who didn't have as much of a voice in the room might have one this winter. I'm just wondering how that wound up working.
Yeah, I mean, I think the voices in our room have always been pretty consistent, and we added some voices. So, but we weren't amplifying any of them to my knowledge.
Ross, after 10 years in Toronto, I understand that being the general manager of a Major League Baseball club is an immense privilege, immense honor, immense achievement. But you've come in for just a terrible amount of criticism, especially over the last couple of years. Is this job still fun? Do you enjoy doing this job?
Yeah, I do. I think you characterized it well, and I love every ounce of it. I love it every day, and I do feel very fortunate, but also with a great deal of responsibility.